I'm so fucking mad at. Sorry. I'm
I'll
so.
bleep that out.
Welcome to another episode of Debatable with your hosts Nina and Kyle. I'm Kyle.
I'm Nina. With us is our friends from the Philippine Debate Union. This is Bianca Lacaba and Nathan Austria.
I'm Bianca.
Hi, I'm Nathan.
And for this segment, we want to ask them some things about the recent elections, since these two worked closely with the campaigns, though not directly through parallel institutions and parallel parties. So we'd want to sort of interview them about their experiences, their criticisms, and perhaps some insights as to what we can do in the future. So, firstly, and what I want to ask is, what was the experience like? Or what was your role exactly?
Well, I'm part of the parallel communications team, so it doesn't really. We work with the main campaign, but mostly we move on our own. But still, we do agree with their messaging, with their strategy. But we exercise our efforts in social media. So I'm part of the group that focuses primarily on social media.
For me, what I did is, I was part of the secretariat of Team Pilipinas. So, Team Pilipinas is a volunteer group that was formed to support the candidates of the Ocho Derecho slate. So, what makes us different from the main campaign is that we refer all of the volunteers who signed up to the main campaign to participate in the events that they organize, but at the same time, we create our independent events for them. So sometimes we call for weekend flyerings, visit to the markets, or for example, we sometimes hold gigs, concerts, so that we can show like our solidarity as a team in support of the candidates that we were supporting. At the same time, we also helped in raising funds for the main campaign, or not necessarily for the main campaign. We helped in raising funds to produce collaterals for the slate. So that, like, for example, we were the ones who produced, like, fans and flyers, those kinds of things.
Tarpaulins.
So, it's the group is basically in support of the slate, but we're separate from the main campaign.
What I want to ask is, how long does it take, or how long before the elections have your group started mobilizing alongside the main campaign?
For my case, Team Pilipinas was launched sometime October. So I think it was right after the filing of the candidacy. We already organized ourselves, and then we mobilized a call for volunteers. On the first day of our call for sign-ups, we were able to get around 1,000 volunteers, and then we launched the team, or we launched the group a month after. I believe we launched November 29.
Yeah.
So, pero we started organizing. We started mobilizing volunteers October.
For me, I joined the team pretty late in January, and but according to the people in the office, we had like 3 years of preparation. So it was like 3 years of preparation, and then like, during last week, it's like, can't you believe it? 3 years of preparation. Now we're done. We're down to 3 days till the elections. So I guess they prepared 3 years. But before joining that communications firm, I used to work for a party list, Akbayan Party, and worked communications there as well for the electoral strategy.
Are you still affiliated with
Akbayan? Yeah. But I'm not that active anymore.
So after this election, do you plan on being active again? Do you plan on staying with the communications team?
Well, I've chosen my battles. So, I think I'll go to where my efforts are more effective.
And where's
And I think the battle is for 2022 right now.
Also, like, you're already starting on efforts for the 2022 campaign. Like, what specific things are you like already doing or planning, or bawal ba?
Actually, wala pang planning. Wala pang anything. We're still licking our wounds. We're still we're still reassessing what went wrong, what went right. But right now, the priority is, because the campaign was so draining, was so tiring. We had to work weekends as well. We're now resting.
For our team though, Team Pilipinas, we had our Thanksgiving and moving forward General Assembly yesterday. So what we did there was, we thanked the volunteers. We kind of had a session where we were all just like mourning and that kind of thing. But eventually, ultimately what we wanted to tell our volunteers is that it shouldn't end here, because we were, to an extent, the group is already a base for supporters for the next election. So we don't want that to go to waste. So we kind of proposed a 5-point agenda to them, which we want to achieve, not necessarily just until 2022, but like moving forward, like how do we participate as citizens beyond the election? So we told them that we already know what are the kinds of issues that we're going to be facing in the coming months. So what's important now is that we organize ourselves and we don't just like die down after the elections. We should still show this kind of like support, this kind of like efforts of volunteerism in terms of raising awareness, for example, for the issue of federalism, because that's definitely something that we're going to be talking about in the coming months. Or for example, I don't know if the Senate, most likely the Senate is going to revive the issue of like bringing back death penalty. So we told our volunteers that if these are the reasons why we supported the candidates that we supported before, because we know that they're against them, then the fight shouldn't end in just like supporting them because they weren't able to win the elections. Now more than ever, we should like speak out against these issues and organize to make sure that we raise awareness for these issues, because that's where the battleground is already.
I'd want to take a few steps back though. Like, since you already have a sort of agenda for the next election, I kind of want to ask what struggles you faced during this election that allowed your parties to come to that realization. So, for example, issues of funding, issues of messaging, maybe issues of volunteers. Like, I'd want to know exactly what went wrong or your version of what went wrong.
Well, in terms of funding and logistics, we have to understand that right from the very start of the campaign season, the odds were stacked against us. Like, the funding, LP is the party. Sorry,
Coalition.
the coalition was in the minority. The coalition was in the minority. We were not the ones in power. Our candidates weren't in power. So I guess in terms of networking with the LGUs and the funding, we didn't have the same access compared to the administration bets.
I think I just wanna dive a bit deeper into that. So so aside from like the Ocho Derecho candidates, like the other progressive candidates which we all supported, like for example Neri and Calyodi, the first thing that we have to understand is that most of them, they're not really politicians. Like most of these people were from different fields before, and then they were asked to run. So people, there's already the problem of awareness, which right from the start was against them. Mm-hmm. So that's why funding was so important, because the way that you could raise awareness for these people is by one, organizing events which they can attend so that people can talk to them. That requires money, and that requires like connections with like local governments, people that are going to accept them, that are going to post them. Secondly, through other traditional mediums, like for example commercials, putting up posters, or even through social media. It takes a lot of resources for them to be able to access this. One campaign team, I remember, they have a very good team. They were able to shoot a commercial which they wanted to show, but they didn't have enough funds to show it. To show it. So they just uploaded it. They just uploaded it on social media. But that's not enough, because the majority of the population, the demography which we want to target, is still reliant on traditional forms like radio and television.
That's why before elections, politicians would always conduct surveys in which platform do they get their news? Do they get their information? I think most recent surveys would say the TV Patrol. That's why most political commercials or like campaign commercials are focused in the time slot of TV Patrol and other news segments.
Plus, I think I hear a lot of stories from volunteers where the extent to which everything was really like against the opposition slate in general is that even if you put up posters, since the machinery of like our opponents is like way stronger, way bigger, the next day you're just gonna discover that the posters that you put up, they were already taken down. Because like for example, in certain barangays, they align themselves with the administration. They have directives, they receive directives to remove all posters which weren't put up by the
They were actually ordered.
that's allowed.
This is very common.
That's
obviously
This is a tactical alliance.
But that's how it works. Like I don't think that like out of like your own will you're just gonna think that I want to remove their poster.
Yeah.
It's really out of like directive.
So why do you think like these alliances happen? Like how were they formed?
Are they bought off?
Are they bought off by the administration?
Do you think that they genuinely just are misguided in supporting the wrong parties?
Well, it's hard to think of the concrete motivation that they have for being allies with the administration. But you can remember that right after President Duterte's administration was inaugurated, a lot of congressmen jumped parties from LP to PDP Laban. And that says a lot. It means that it's because, this is the ruling party, they're most likely to get funding, they're most likely to get support in their parties. Like even progressive politicians, or if we can call her progressive, Geraldine Roman jumped to PDP Laban. So these are the things that we have to consider. Like even Joy Belmonte, and even the Belmontes split. Like there were part of the Belmontes who were part of the PDP Laban and part of the Belmontes who were still part of LP.
Yeah, I remember that drama.
Plus, I think we shouldn't like overlook the idea or the function of fear. Like most of the local politicians were really afraid that their names are going to be linked to the narco list because a few
weeks
before the election, they released a list of people who were involved in the drug trade. So a lot of the local politicians were really scared that their names were going to be included in that list. There are really a lot of like stories on the ground where some like for our case, I'm not sure, but like okay, fine. So there's this so we had a friend before who is a local politician, and then we met with said friend. And they're in support. They're in support of the slate, but they can't express their support explicitly because they're scared that the local police in their area, is going to be onto them, and like it's gonna be heated and everything. Because there were already cases that happened that they were targeted, like something like that. So it's really pretty sketchy. It's really complex. That's why it was really, really hard to mobilize on the ground because you just like if you go to a certain area, you don't know if there's going to be a crowd that's going to be there. And that's one. Politicians also, they needed to manage their resources properly. So even if they wanted to like do it the more tiring way, where if there's no organized group that's going to meet us, we could like go house to house or whatever. Their time is very limited, so they had to focus on where they think like their resources were going to be maximized. So I feel like that's like one of the biggest problems. Really, like it's hard to get yourself out there.
There were a lot of mayors who were endorsing the Ocho Derechos state, but secretly.
Yeah, underhanded.
They would just whisper to people that they know, to barangay captains they know, but they won't really officially endorse these candidates.
And that means a lot to people on the ground because in local politics, it's different from national politics. In local politics kasi, it's about the relationship with the politician. So when you know that this mayor is effective and the endorsement, like the effectiveness of the endorsement of that mayor is something that's really going to affect how people are going to calculate or make their decision, then if in the sample ballot the name that was included or the names of the senators that is together with the name of the mayor, then that's what they're going to remember. Studies show that people in general, they make their decisions in terms of who they're going to vote for in local way before they make their decision on who they're going to vote for in the national elections, because for them the national elections is very abstract, it's up there. But for local elections, they know immediately what they're going to get. So the endorsement of the local politicians is really important because they think that this is the closest that I could get to that politician. So it serves some sort of I don't know, still parang may mga traditional political stuff pa rin that's involved. But yeah, that's how it works. That's how they make the decision.
Yeah, so that's the concept of political efficacy. So they're more likely to feel attached to national government if they feel like they're important, and their level of importance is usually maximized if they see it happening in a local level.
But also there's a different level, a different kind of politics when it comes to the local level. Because my boss used to tell me that if you want to learn more about politics, go local.
Yeah.
That's the most effective way to learn about politics. And I think that's why, unfortunately, that's why this administration is pretty strong. Because he had a strong experience in the local level.
Yeah, very popular for local politics. And if anything, the local is just a smaller reflection of what happens on a national level.
Yeah, if you would also analyze the type of campaign that Sara and the HNP Bets had, it was very local. It was like a mayor introducing her councilors, something like that. Yeah. In fact, some people would say that Sara Duterte was the star of the campaign sorties and not the candidates themselves.
Yeah, I heard something about that as well. So we talked about funding. We talked about the hindrances of the current administration. I also wanted to ask, in terms of messaging, so there's a lot of discussion on social media about what could have changed in terms of the strategy or messaging of Ocho Derecho, as well as other opposition candidates. So I wanted to hear your insights or criticisms of them. Again, as a disclaimer, just yours. Obviously not reflective of the parties that you're part of, if that helps you and makes you feel any better. Right? So do not prosecute these two. They're just speaking from their own opinion.
Well, based on what I experienced, I would say that right from the start, there was a lot of changes in messaging. Like, even this name of the slate, it started with Opposition Coalition, okay, then somehow Team Pilipinas, which is a volunteers group, and some other people misinterpreted it as the name of the team slate, and then it became Ocho Derecho. So, I think it was only January when Ocho Derecho started. And right from there, I can infer that there were changes in the messaging that we wanted to give people.
I think it's more of a failure to really capitalize on alternative narrative, because those changes, those shifts, just kind of signify that there was a difficulty in establishing a unified message that will allow people to attach whatever value they could attach when they hear the slate name. So, for example, Opposition Coalition was problematic because it was just like, when you say opposition, it's the opposition. The first question is opposition to whom? Opposition for whom, right? So there was no clear direction in what that coalition is for. But then the problem with Ocho Derecho is that, one, it can be easily hijacked. Like, it doesn't really say that these are the candidates, these are what they're standing for. It just says that Ocho Derecho. So I feel like the primary problem or the main problem with the messaging is that it wasn't clear what the alternative narrative is. Yeah. It's just we just know that it's against Duterte. But the problem with that is that Duterte's name is not on the ballot.
Yeah.
So people aren't necessarily going to...
We're excited about that.
So people aren't necessarily going to think that, okay, I'm voting against Duterte or anything like that, right? But it's and again, Duterte still has a stronghold, a very strong support system. So it was hard to capitalize on the narrative that we're the ones who are against Duterte. I feel like if we wanted to be, like, we would have been more effective in showing people that, okay, we recognize the problems that this administration has identified. We recognize the problems of the people on the ground. And the alternative narrative that we're banking on is that these are the solutions to those problems, like framed in a way that people will really be able to understand, not just like by saying that, oh, we're going to like pass this legislation, yada, yada, yada. Because to an extent, the language is still very out of touch. We had the discussion over drinks.
Yeah.
Same.
Like why eventually there was a shift in terms of like support for Neri and for Jokno.
It was
because
anti-strongman messaging.
Yeah, and it was because it was clear. Like Jokno's messaging is very clear. Justice for everyone, rich or poor. People were able to, like, to an extent, they were able to chew on that because they really know that justice right now is a bit out of touch and something, right? But I feel like the slate, if the strategy originally was to campaign or to sell them as a slate, that unified messaging, something like that something similar to like Jokno's justice was very absent.
Yeah. So it was mostly an antagonistic campaign, wasn't it? Yeah.
And when you think of Ocho Derecho, you can't really think of a single issue about what they're fighting for. But when you think of single candidates, you suddenly know, Jokno, he's for justice, Tanyada is for the workers. And I think I read an article from CNN saying that that's the problem, that they should have been campaigning for themselves and not as Ocho Derecho. Kasi parang when you think about the premise that people think in a single issue kind of mindset, and that's understandable kasi sobrang simple, easily digestible, and mas intuitive siya sa mga tao. That's why bosses ng katarungan work, para sa manggagawa work, something like that.
Can I ask though, and I feel kind of stupid asking this, what does the derecho and ocho derecho mean? Like, is it derecho in terms of their principles, or was it a witty way to say vote straight, the eight?
No, it's actually a Filipino phrase. Walang labis, walang kulong. Walang labis, walang kulang. It means exact. Ocho derecho. So, if you go to the markets, ocho derecho is kind of used in terms of like, kung gaano karami, ganon. So, parang it's a common Filipino phrase.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Sheltered.
I'm sheltered. This is why I'm asking other people.
Actually, hindi ko din alam kung bakit nag-shift to ocho derecho. For me nga, mas
Because
effective.
there's no even like backgrounder on the...
There was no briefing.
No. Yeah.
And usually when you release a tagline, usually that comes with a history of what does this mean to us, what should it mean to you.
Yeah.
There wasn't. So it was up to interpretation.
Their tagline, yung unang tagline was, ipaglaban ang
Kung tinaba bukas, boto mo ang lunas.
Which is very, like,
Oo.
diverse, like, very different from Ocho Derecho. So,
Tapos parang feeling ko mas effective kinuha na lang na yung Team Pilipinas versus the Chinese-friendly administration bets.
Yeah. But wasn't Team Pilipinas a thing of Duterte, like when he ran, like 3 years ago? Wasn't it? Like the whole narrative of make the Philippines great again, it sounds very reminiscent.
I think it was during in the time of Duterte, it was more on invoking strong patriotic sense of belongingness. So, parang doon pa lang, yun yung in-invoke ni Duterte. Pero 3 years after, we can see naman na, was it really for the Philippines? Diba? You have build projects, but who are the workers? Chinese people.
It's
diba?
another issue altogether.
So, diba? So, parang, ang dami nangyari. So, in terms of hijacking the messaging, that happens a lot naman. And communications people do that often.
Di ba PDP laban? Party siya ni Cory.
Yeah.
So hijacking is not something that's new.
Yeah, it's not new.
Kaya nga kung may tunay daw na dilawan, it's Duterte for running PDP laban. And it was Cory who appointed Duterte as the mayor and the OIC of Davao. Duterte's dad.
Okay, so we're done discussing like what went wrong. What do you think we can do next? I guess as a community, as debaters, it seems like, as you mentioned, the national elections very abstract, regardless of what class or stature you're in. So what can we pragmatically do? Like maybe in the short term, maybe continuously until 2022.
I think debaters shouldn't take offense at being called at people who are trapped in their liberal bubbles, because it's true.
Yeah, definitely.
Come on. Like, we're in the debate rounds, and pag may liberal bias yung motion, we cheer kasi madali siyang i-defend, ganon, or pag hindi, we're afraid of defending the motion, something like that. So parang sa akin, we shouldn't be afraid na tinatawag tayong people trapped in our echo chambers, because we are. And I feel like we should be aware na dapat may gawin tayo doon. And for me, people who are aware of things, of information, or much more enlightened than other people are in a powerful position to change other people's opinions. Like talk to 50 people, 100 people, or even 20 people or 5 people. That does a lot in terms of organizing or organizing. Kaya nga after nung paglabas ng results, and parang nakita ko na parang wala si Senator Bam sa results, parang sobrang na heartbroken ako to the point na parang I was really mad, and I was coming from a place of frustration na parang I'm so fucking mad at, sorry.
I'll bleep that out.
I'm so mad at intellectuals who discuss this and this, pero wala namang ginagawa on the ground to say this. Kasi, hello, social media. Social media gives you the same algorithm that has your same beliefs. So it displays the same things that you are compatible with, that you agree with in the first place. So it doesn't really do much when you express your opinion there. The real battle place is on the ground, in the community levels.
Very hard to to take the battle on social media right now, because I think less than 1% of your friends even can see your posts. That's why every time you refresh Facebook, you see a different post now, right? Yeah. So the algorithm's really against us. But I think more than like the function of changing other people's minds, ako kasi I'm trying to shift into a bit of like the way that I want to organize people right now, or I want to involve myself in organizing right now. It's not just like by changing people's minds. Medyo mas long haul siya in terms of understanding where they're really coming from. Because I feel that like if we just like place the responsibility or take upon the responsibility of changing people's minds, that already assumes that we're the ones who have the right opinion.
That's true.
But most of the time, the people on the ground, when you visit markets, they don't think that their opinions are wrong. They don't think that the way by which they weigh values is wrong. And we can't completely blame them for that, because it's a function of like the environment that they grew up in. It's a function of their understanding of how politics works. Like they just see politicians as people who are going to make laws and make their lives better. I'm not saying that we shouldn't fault them at all. It's more of like understanding why they were conditioned to think that way. Because we can't just like, I would like to think that no one would deliberately want to vote for someone who is problematic. I feel like there are reasons behind that. And as debaters, more than like being logical or more than constructing reasonable arguments as to how we can convince other people, it's more of really exercising our capacity to understand other individuals who were not exposed to the same kind of environment that we are in, where we were supposed to really force ourselves out of like our comfort zone and like extending our patience to understand others. Because for them, the world like out there, it's much more complicated. Like you can't, like, for example, I've encountered someone who said that okay lang siya that the prices of goods are rising because like the trade-off is that we're getting rid of the drug addicts who compromise the safety of his children, of his family. Problematic, yes. But you understand where his motivations are coming from. He just wants to protect his family. He's just scared that, I don't know, his children are gonna walk out there and then suddenly someone's going to, like, I don't know,
kill them.
Kill them or anything like that. Harm them in the most basic sense, right? So, medyo problematic how they view things. Not everyone thinks like that. There are, like, people who can still reason na parang, hindi dapat tayo bumoto ng magnanakaw and all, but not everyone can think that way because I don't know, their realities are very different. And it might sound too much of a burden for us to say that we should try to fix their realities. But if we just keep on saying that they're stupid, they make wrong decisions, where is that gonna take us? Are they suddenly going to change their minds that yeah, I'm stupid? I feel like even for us it's hard to accept that we're stupid, right? I feel like in like face-to-face conversations, when you enter a conversation with someone who is a vendor, chances are you're not gonna be able to explicitly hear that person's going to change their mind. The best that we can do is cast some shadow of doubt, like in that person's head. Because even for us, the converse can be applied. That even if they give us like all the reasons for us to change our minds, we're not going to change our minds really. The only thing that they can be able to do is to cast a shadow of doubt. Like, okay, this is a reality outside my reality that I haven't considered before pala. So it's more of like really, I don't know, right now, trying to understand each other and going back to the common goals which we should be focusing on so that we can find alternative ways for us to achieve those things that we want. Because I really, really strongly feel that in the end, we all want the same thing. We want peace, we want like a prosperous economy, we want safety for everyone. We just want to live a happy life, really.
As debaters, kasi we study a lot of theories, of concepts, but at the end of the day, reality is still the most powerful theory. And you can't really divorce them from their experience when sinasabi nila na parang I'm gonna vote for Marcos and I'm also gonna vote for Aquino. I've encountered voters like that na parang kung iisipin natin cognitive dissonance, ganun, pero it's not. It's just something that they believe in. It's something that they're conditioned to believe in, or there's something that they experience every day. That's why they're voting for them. So parang wala talagang bobotante. It's just that they're just constrained by the experiences of their everyday life, like being a laborer, being in a class C, D, E. Again,
it's problematic, but I think the question that we should focus more on is what do we do then? So go out of social media. I don't know, try to talk to like your tricycle drivers, kamustahin niyo sila, because sometimes that's how it really starts. Like when they see that you care about them and you're not just talking to them because you want to change their minds, but really because you also have the same like motivation, same intentions. That's when they're also going to start being open to parang opening or parang accepting your worldview.
May tanong ako. Like, because I was noticing how so many people who are against the opposition, so many voters, parang they keep saying na the opposition is too elitist. It's only for like university students, ganyan. Even though the platforms of the opposition are pro-poor, like for the masses, why is the popular belief still that they're elitist, like they're out of touch, etc.?
I think because the support, the base support, is coming from like that socioeconomic class. Not majority, because a lot of the voters from the middle class like still a problematic vote. But I feel that in general, kasi like if you're going to see, like for me, it's a volunteer group. If we're going to see whenever we convene them, most of them are titas. Most of them are like the kind of the medyo old people, yung mga parents na mahihilig sa mga intellectuals. So not necessarily the kind of people na you'd think na makamasa or whatever. So like whenever you'd see the supporters really, sometimes it seems that it's a group composed of like people who are just from the middle class.
We were discussing
upper middle class really.
We were discussing a Facebook comment nga nung we were drinking in Makati. Parang sabi dun sa comment, wag niyong iboto ang 8 diretso. Sobrang tatalino niyan. Gagawin lang tayong bobo. At first, we were laughing. Pero then, we understood suddenly where they were coming from. Na parang, okay, they really see this issue as something that is elitist, that's their strategy as something as elitist. So, ang gusto talaga, I feel like the common Filipino voter was conditioned to believe that the right way to feel or to feel the presence of national candidates is through like campaign sorties that involve
Dancing.
acts, dancing, singing, something like that. So the question is, will the next opposition do that same strategy?
So, so there's this weird thing now where I don't know, people don't like traditional politicians, but at the same time, they're also turned off if people are not trying to be traditional politicians. Like they're actively moving away from it.
Yeah, because I feel that even if you're actively moving away from it, it's a function of language, how you present it still. Na parang I'm not sure where we start, like how we move forward now, but like I feel na there could have been like I think most of the difficulty really lies pa rin na kasi na malaki pa rin yung influence talaga ni Duterte. So even if you try to make it an issue-based discussion when you go down sa campaign sorties, people are gonna doubt like the issues that you like bring upon them. So if it's going to be an issue of like human rights or China, there's still going to be a strong influence from what Duterte says about these candidates.
But right after 2016 elections, dire-diretso yung pull-down strategies ng administration in terms of like painting the Liberal Party as something as elitist, all these opposition politicians as elitist, human rights as an elitist topic, something like that. So they're trying to send the message that this is the concern of the common folk.
How high is Duterte's
81%.
Yeah, 81%.
I know. Is it 81? 81?
It was 81%.
Okay.
The satisfaction rate.
Yeah, so that means that like whatever he says, people still put a like really big deal on it. Like it's still
His opinion is so weak.
I talked to a motorcycle driver from Caloocan. This is the hotbed of EJ case. And sabi niya na, I really do believe that Duterte is a good man. But he's just influenced by bad people around him. That he's just surrounded by bad people around him. And feeling, dun pa lang, that level of being an apologist to the administration, medyo nagigets ko na parang ang laki pala rin talaga ng support ni Duterte, even if ang daming blunders or anti-poor policies na pinapasa.
I think that's it. Thank you so much for agreeing to this. It really means a lot to us. We learned a lot. I think that at this point, it really is important to start understanding like what happens on the ground. So debate is an intellectual discussion, but it shouldn't just stay as intellectual. So I guess learning about it is the first step. So thank you. I look forward to working with you as we fight the same enemies.
And I
the
hope
next 3
the
years.
leftist groups will also unite.
Oof, that's a different issue. We'll talk about that some other time.
We can talk about it
Okay.
if you want.
Not unite, just see each other eye to eye.
That's a start. That's a start.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. So thank you again, Bianca. Thank you again, Nita.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any final words for the listeners?
Well, we're starting a little project of ours.
Ooh.
It's still in the drawing board, but we're kind of hoping as starting a progressive alliance. We're gonna build networks of people who want to run in the 2022 elections, from your SK councils, from your city councils, from your congressman, so that by 2022 we have a strong youth agenda, a strong progressive agenda.
So would you want to invite people on how they can take part or how they can contribute to the drawing board as of now?
We're still thinking of it, but yeah, maybe we'll share the details in the coming days, in the coming weeks.
All right.
Yeah, maybe we'll publicize it that much.
We'll commit to helping you share that message.
I have a personal pet project though. Like like before the elections, I have this thing where I conduct mga kapihan sessions. But the target of the kapihan sessions are people who are not affiliated even with the debate community.
Okay.
So what I do is try to talk to youth, young people from universities, and then we just talk about like issues. Not necessarily with the goal of changing their minds, but like just talking about like how do you feel about sexism? How do you feel about these kinds of issues? It's more of like trying to create a safe space where people can share even their maybe borderline bigoted beliefs, but like with the intent of understanding where those things are coming from. So I might start trying to do that again. So if like other people might be interested in like collaborating or doing something like that, it's really just trying to, I feel, because my theory is that our generation, we're being thrown information here and there, but what we lack is the capacity to process that information. In social media, it's very hard to process them because we get judged right away for the opinions that we form. So I want to start creating safe spaces where we can try to like deliberate or try to have a discussion about these kinds of things without being judged, and just like understanding where like one another is coming from. So yeah, there's that.
Alright, so we'll make sure to update ourselves on your projects. We'll possibly link anything relevant to
that would be helpful.
our Twitters and Facebooks, etc. So thank you so much. Yeah. I don't know how to end these things. Like, how do you end interviews?
How do you do your outros?
We don't. So that's it for this episode of Debatable with your hosts, Nina and Kyle, and our guests, Bianca and Nathan. Next, we're going to discuss what happened during the election, and we'll talk to someone about possible aftermaths. So thanks for listening. We look forward to having you in our next episodes. Goodbye!
Bye!
Bye.